Hello, Inside Survivor. My name's Christine Palin. I'm here with Gia Worthy. You might know us from a little article we write every week that apparently people read. Apparently, people read it. Um, that's great. But we're here to talk today. Gia, what are we here to talk about?
We are here to talk about Survivor 50 and the Survivor cast that we are getting. And earlier this year, during this, was it last summer? When did we do the roundups? If was this
The 50,
the 50 for
50 for
50? I
50?
mean, yeah.
Yeah, that was last, and last off season
Yeah.
into
Okay.
the last season.
So like a year-ish ago and some change. We wrote we started our dream picks for 50 for 50. And so that kind of got me excited for Survivor 50, just like talking about how it could go. Well, now we are here and one of us got our way in some ways. Neither of us got our way completely. So, um
Yes, so actually, out of all the Inside Survivor writers who participated in 50 for 50, Martin got 3 picks and or was it 4 picks? I think it's
he
three
got
picks
three.
and I got two, and everyone else had none. So
In all
silver medal
fairness,
for
I was
me.
kind of expecting that outcome for mine, but
Mhm.
everyone else, I think the other teams had some more realistic picks there for theirs.
Yeah, I think it is a little shocking out of, we drafted 50 people collectively for
Mhm.
50. And to be fair, some of us went a little left field.
I treated it more like a wish list as a this would
Yeah.
likely happen. Yes.
But I like looking at like what we had collectively drawn up, it is a bit surprising that we only had like five total of those people make it on. Obviously, we were constraining ourselves in a way that production wasn't, and
Yes.
CBS and Survivor Casting weren't because we were only casting like non-winners. We were only casting, I think, no one who had played more than twice, and as we will see on this cast, Survivor did not get the memo, so that definitely impacted. Since once they opened the floodgates beyond what we were doing, it wasn't looking good for us.
No. No, we lost and we lost hard. But I'm still excited to talk about who we are going to be seeing for Survivor 50 because there are, for me personally, Christine, only drafted one player in the 40s when we were doing our 50 for 50 list, which was Katora, and only one
Mhm.
person in the 30s, I believe. So that which was Davy. And while neither of them are on, I didn't even really consider the idea that there was going to be a large number of new school people here, and there are a lot of players from that era that I'm excited to see return. So I can't wait to get a better idea of, to talk about some of these players that I didn't expect to be on.
And two of them, we won't even know who they are, so we
Yes,
won't even have anything
exactly.
to go by. But we'll get to this. So Martin Holmes, aka Redman, has posted on Inside Survivor the rumored castaways. I believe this is going to be going up the like on the morning of when CBS is formally announcing it. I believe, as far as we know, this is what we're expecting. We're recording this the day before, so we'll take a look. It's going to go in chronological order. And we'll start off, of course, with Borneo. Jenna Lewis Doherty, from Borneo and All Stars. So we there were long assumptions that there would be someone from Borneo on the season because like the hope for this season was that it would span all eras of
Yeah,
Survivor, and as we'll see, it fails in some of those ways. Like no one who debuted in the 20s is on this cast,
which is
which
wild, by the way.
feels crazy.
We're just like we're
But
celebrating the history of Survivor, but we are ignoring a whole decade in there. A
yeah,
whole 10
it's crazy. But I will say I'm very very excited that Jenna is returning. I do wish, obviously, this was a Borneo player who did not yet return.
seasons.
But given that it's the first season of the show, that'll like some of those players have passed, and then uh, some of those players have completely fallen off the map, and some of those players just definitely aren't interested again. One of those players isn't allowed to talk about the show because of an NDA she signed. So, like, looking at like who reasonably could have returned from Borneo, especially like looking at like the women who could have returned from Borneo, Jenna Lewis, it makes a lot of sense that they landed on her, and I'm excited for her because it seems like she like keeps up with the show and like really wants to play again. And I think she could actually do pretty well.
I am super excited for a Jenna Lewis return, actually. The of the 2, so I knew that they were looking at Borneo players, and I get it because it's the first season. Of course, you wanna honor Borneo in some way. I was really hoping that the season 1 rep, if it was just gonna be one person, was actually going to be Jenna or Jervis, and
Hmm.
the reason for that is because I think they both have shown a lot of promise for the game in their second time. So these players both were, I believe they were both Pagan victims. Like
Yes.
they were part of the systematically eliminated players in that group and the original Pagan tribe. And in both Jenna and Jervis's second return, Jenna's being in All Stars in season 8, Jervis being all the way in season 27 for the first Blood versus Water season. They showed a lot of promise and being able to improve their previous game and improve how they maneuvered whatever new obstacles were coming their way in there. So I'm very, very happy with the Jenna Lewis pick here, and I'm excited. So Jenna's never played a season with idols or any of these other advantages that we know of. She has played a season with 3 tribes, though. So if that's what we're expecting here, I'm really excited to see how she will adapt to the new era of the game.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see like how she's changed as a person, where she's in her life, because I find she's someone I don't think about all the time. Like I think about like certain old school Survivor players. I think about often when like thinking about engaging with the history of the show and like watching the show today. But when I do think about Jenna Lewis, I her story is so great because she was so beloved on Borneo. Like it's when you watch her on Borneo, it's she's not quite America's sweetheart because she's not Colleen, but she's got some great emotional aspects to her story. Seems like a very sweet person. And then when she's on All Stars, we get to see a completely different side of Jenna Lewis, which is the story of All Stars, with seeing sides of players we didn't expect to see. But Jenna Lewis really was a villain
Mhm.
in going after some pretty beloved winners at the time. She wasn't. She like came to play hard and win after she was pagonged in the first season because she was so like innocent and Pollyanna about like not making alliances and like hoping she could survive. And so I'm really hoping we get more of All Stars Jenna Lewis because I think G and I are on the same page. Like, we need some villains on Survivor, and I want her to go out, and play to win. I don't need her to play a character, but like, I think she could be a very fun presence to kind of bring some conflict to the season, potentially, especially with a couple winners out there. Let's go, we'll get there, but I'm a little scared for them. If I'm them, I'm gonna keep my eye on Jenna Lewis.
Maybe just pray that you're not on a starting tribe with her.
Exactly. So, do we have anything else to say about Jenna?
No, this is one of the highlights of the cast for me, honestly. I'm really excited to see her come back.
Yeah, I will say prior to even like last month or so, it was not on my radar we would see Jenna Lewis again.
Yeah.
Simply because like I knew for 50 they'd want to bring someone back from Borneo, but I was just like, well, we've already seen her. She did kind of like not tarnish her reputation with All Stars, but she really changed the way people perceived her in All Stars in a way where I think she was less of a fan favorite after All Stars.
Yeah.
So for her to make a return to Survivor after that long, after kind of really changing the perception of her, I think is really exciting. And I think, considering the absences we have from this cast, I think she will bring some of the things we were hoping to see with more old school players in the cast. There are very few like true old school players in the cast, unfortunately. So hoping she can help carry that to some degree, and she makes it at least to the merge. It'd be really fun to see Jenna play this new game.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Someone who I don't know what he'll think of this new game is Colby
So I had to
Donaldson
think
is
about it for
returning.
a second, and then I immediately remembered.
If that's really a recent picture of Colby, he looks great.
He got some extensions done in there.
I think he might have had
That's
some
not
work
the
done.
hairline he had. That's not the hairline he
Yeah.
started
Oh
with.
my god, yeah, maybe he went on a trip to Turkey. That is true. Yeah, wow, miracles
Like,
do
"Wait a
happen.
minute. You look great,
So,
Colby. You looked great
yeah,
before
Colby
and now."
looking great. Colby, okay, this is one where like I like obviously as like we're coming from a super fans perspective, we're feeling like we don't need to necessarily see Colby again.
No.
But
No, no,
like
no. We
I
we've
can't
seen enough.
I can't fault them for casting him now because he is like if again I wish they had been more consistent with this of like when you're talking about eras of the show like you have to cast someone from Outback because that was the height of the show's popularity, that was the most popular season of Survivor. And like
Mhm.
when you talk about someone who was a household name, Colby is someone to talk about. In a minute we'll talk about someone who should have been there with him if they were going to cast Colby in the first place. But we can talk about that omission once we wrap up Colby. um, but in terms of like at like what he's going to bring to this season, I think very little. You're rubbing your eyes.
I know. There's a lot of pollen outside, so part of it's allergies, but no, but
Part
I
of it.
mean, it was a well-timed, eye rub in there because I let's just talk about it. So for Colby in particular, the last time we saw him was Heroes versus Villains. I believe he was the last hero standing on the Heroes tribe, but that was more because he was not adapting to the game whatsoever. The new era, which is completely different than the new era we know now. And I have not heard about anything that Colby has been up to recently or if he keeps up with the show or not. Maybe he does. I think it would be really
I
interesting to see
think he doesn't
Colby.
watch it.
But yeah, I think it'd be interesting to see Colby return if he did study up on the show, but I don't think he did, and I think it's crazy that they're picking him and not including one of the people that we already mentioned that, has been cut at some point, Jerry Manthe. I feel like it's criminal to include Colby and not Jerry, and really, if we are getting only one of the 2, like, if there had to be just one Survivor, the Australian Outback representative, I think it should have been Jerry.
This is the great one of the great tragedies of many on this cast was
Yes.
and of course we rumors and information from Redmond himself early on in the casting process. We knew they had both been called, and that was a very exciting moment when we knew they'd both been called because like of course they're going to cast both of them. Like of course they're going to want Colby on the season if he's down to play, and they're not going to cast Colby without Jerry. And I was really excited to see those two again because I do like Colby and Jerry. They are on all 3 of their seasons together, and they have such a fun dynamic. And like, they probably do they even keep in touch? I don't know. It would have been so interesting to see them back together. There'd be so many fun potential callbacks to All Stars, to Outback, Heroes vs Villains, just seeing them together. And like you said, yeah, Jerry wants to play again. Like Jerry really wants to play again. She keeps up with the show. She's like friends with a lot of new era people. Like she clearly really wants it. And overall the women on this cast, it's a solid cast. Um, you know, but I don't know. I don't understand what happened to cut Jerry and keep Colby. I don't understand what happened. I don't understand what they were thinking.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just sad. It's sad to know she was in consideration and cut, and you can tell she posted a video the other day where she's just sitting in silence for like I think a full minute,
Yes.
and because she knows that was her last chance. That like I don't think that she's ever getting the call again. It's sad.
And listen, Jerry had an amazing arc throughout her time in the 3 seasons that she has played, right? So I don't wanna take anything away from
No.
what we have gotten from Jerry, but Jerry should have been on 50. I think it's insane that they didn't include her, especially if they were gonna include Colby. I get Colby was this huge presence on Australian Outback. This was like the fan favorite of all fan favorites before we get into, like Rupert Mania and things like that. Until this point, it's really like Colby Donaldson is the guy. I get that. There was nothing that we have seen from him in All Stars or Heroes versus Villains that made me think we really need to see this guy again, except if they wanted to give us the Colby versus Jerry of it all, which they didn't. And I'm very sad about that. I think and I think it would be really interesting to again to see Colby come back if he does study up on the show, but I'm keeping my expectations low there. And I must say, I think this is more of a miss for me personally. Um, However, Jerry herself was one of the many people that have recently posted something to either confirm or all but confirm that they are not going to be on season 50. So we'll get to cover some of the snubs here that I'm very excited to uh pay tribute to some of the players that we haven't seen yet.
And while we're on the subject of Outback, someone who did post that they would not be on 50 before, the cast was confirmed, before, we had this additional information we have now, is Elizabeth Hasselbeck. So I believe this all kind of started, people speculated Elizabeth Hasselbeck could be on, and then I think people saw she had been she like followed Jesse Tannenbaum, and there'd been this had
Mhm.
been brewing for a while. Redmond now thinks that it's so funny. I always like sometimes I call him Martin, sometimes I call him Redmond, and it's like Redmond's like his drag name. Because like some people I talk to only call
His
him Redmond. I'm
stage
like, that's
name.
Martin.
Yes.
Um but Martin Redmond now does believe she like probably wasn't as much of a lock as everyone thought. That like
Yeah.
it seems like she was called and it was probably considering it, but probably never locked in, which I think makes a lot of sense. It was very surprising to me when it did look like she was going to be on, because it seemed like why would she do it, like and
Yeah.
when you watch the video of her, it's like like she doesn't seem like she would be at all interested in it,
She doesn't
but I'm
even
sure they
seem
offered her a lot of money.
disappointed.
That's speculation, but I'm sure they offered her money.
Yeah, she seems annoyed that we're even asking if she's on 50. So, I'm not going to pretend that Elizabeth Hasselbeck not being on 50 is a great loss for me. Best wishes, I suppose. And
Best
happy
wishes.
yes, best wishes, warmest regards. Let's go to the next person.
Yes, so Colby, I hope you're at least a little funny like you were on Heroes versus Villains. He was a little
Yeah,
funny on Heroes versus Villains.
I
Just
hope we get a family visit again.
we need Reed, we
We
need
need
Reed.
we need bring back Reed. Actually, I would have loved a Colby Donaldson return if it was a Blood versus Water season. Not 50 specifically,
Mm,
but like Blood versus Water 3. I feel like the jokes write themselves with getting Reed Donaldson on there as well.
agreed.
Yep.
All right. Next up, all right, Stephanie LaGrossa Kendrick, another Heroes versus Villains player from Palau. Someone like Jenna Lewis, who was really, really, really beloved on her first season, and then her second season showed a side of herself that like was definitely not shown in the previous edit, and played the game a little differently, and was not quite as liked, a little more like a villain. And yet she returned as a hero in Heroes versus Villains, because on that season we were only counting people's first seasons
Yeah.
basically to determine whether or not they were a hero or a villain. All right, this is another one where it's like, I get it. I get like why, because at the time when we talk about extremely popular Survivor players,
Yeah.
after like Rupert, like I mean, like Palau, like Tom Westman was very popular, but Stephanie was like for like
Yes.
the women that came out of the show was incredibly
Yeah.
popular.
I'd even argue
And
Stephanie was more popular than players like Tom or Ian at the
mhm,
time who came from the same season and make it significantly further than Stephanie, but because of her story, she was so beloved.
mhm. And then on Heroes vs Villains, no, she went up early.
She was second out, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So it's like, I'll give this to her. She clearly, I'm not surprised here, because if you pay attention all to like her kind of presence online, she clearly really wanted to return.
Yes.
I mean, she did Trader, she did Snake in the Grass, she's been posting about the show, like she's getting in with it. And so it's really clear this is something she wants. So I'm not like super stoked to see her on this cast. Just like
No.
I don't I don't think either of us are. It just again like when we're talking about this era of the show, like like I think post All Stars, pre Heroes versus Villains era, where we could be pulling from. Fiji's in that mix. We talk about that
Bring
era of
Yao
the
Man
show.
back.
The fact that she's one of only I think two people post or at least post All Stars pre-Micronesia at least. The only
Yeah.
person who debuted in that chunk of time. It's like that's I
It
wish there was someone else, but I get why I can't fault them. She's incredibly
it
popular, and I understand like certain people will be very, very, very excited to see her.
Yeah, I can't say I'm shocked by this pick. It does make sense, especially going from Colby to Stephanie. Like, okay, these are some of the very popular players from that era of the show that they debuted in, so I get that. Um, I will say though, going from Colby, who debuted in season 2, to Stephanie, who debuted in, I think, is it season
Season 10.
10, season 10. That's an 8-season jump where you don't get anybody that premiered and that debuted in
Pearl
Africa,
Islands?
huge Pearl Islands, Krista Hasty, where are you, mother? I knew you
I
would
knew
be.
that was coming.
I know. Um, Amazon feels like a big miss. Marquesas,
Yeah.
hello, Marquesas. Yeah, I feel like it's a big miss on production's part to be bringing back players from the new, and this is not to target anyone specific in
No.
the new era besides the one person that I will specifically be targeting when they come up. They know who they are.
And I
And
know who that is.
yes, exactly, because I complain about it like every day. And they but for this cast, like, it's not to say anything specific about the new era players. Like, I'm actually very excited for a lot of the new era players that we are getting to have them return. But does it make sense to have multiple players returning from the same season where we have this big gap between seasons 2 and 10 where no new players are represented in there? I think that it's a big miss on production's part and also uh, a little left to be desired when the season itself was initially described as a celebration of the entire history of Survivor.
I want to just take this time because like we're getting at this. I think there's like two, we're seeing with this cast like kind of two compounding issues with the casting that are go back into the show's history. Most recently, this has been said a lot: the lack of a new era All Stars season,
Yes.
or Second Chances season, because that would have been a great opportunity to decide who are our new stars of this era of the show truly,
Yeah.
and also bring back a mix of people who maybe wouldn't make it on 50, but like we get a feel for like who's defining this era of the show. That's a problem because they're calling like again, most of the new era picks are fantastic, but they would have also been just as great on a new era All Stars or on a Second Chances season. And then the other problem we're seeing, I think, is just like when we had all the All Stars, and then we didn't then we had a half new returnee season on Micronesia, and then we don't have another full All Star season until Heroes vs Villains, and then we have like another really big gap in the 20s where we're doing captains and stuff. I just think the lack of like again, there was a part era of the show we were doing returnees too much. The 20s where we were having all these captains and random little things, but I think there's a problem in that the like there we're talking about like think about Pearl Islands. Only Fairplay, Rupert, and Sandra have ever returned from Pearl Islands. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I think you're no, Savage, Andrew Savage,
Oh,
but
Savage. I always forget about Savage. But like we look at and then we look at Marquesas. We know who returned from Marquesas. Like we look at Amazon. Like very few people return from Amazon these seasons, and like I feel like we're seeing a compounding issue where they didn't bring back those people when it would have been super obvious and relevant for them to do so. Like we talk about all the people who got cut allegedly when Micronesia changed from an All Star season to a Fans versus Favorite season. Like imagine if it had been a full All Stars cast. Like how many more stars from that era, pre Micronesia era of the show would we have? And so I think it's also compounding issues. It's like someone like Sean Rector, who we know was called and cut, like which it feels
which
crazy he should be here,
is
but
insane to me.
they waited so long to give him a shot. Like, and if they had given him that shot for All Stars, and they give him that shot for Micronesia, for like anything, he'd be a no brainer here. But they waited so long.
Yeah.
People like John Carroll, people like there's so many people who like should be stars of the show and they aren't.
Yeah, I had really high hopes for a Sean Rector, John Carroll return with the way that Survivor 50 was being advertised because, like, of course, Marquesas is such a paramount season to the history of Survivor as a whole and like what was allowed, especially with like the tribe that came into the merge with the majority ended up not resulting in the winner and there being a Paganing of their own after the majority alliance ended up not being the majority anymore. So I just really think that this was a miss when they're talking about honoring the history of Survivor. It almost feels like a select history. Like they're cherry picking the parts of Survivor that they want to remember based on like their own personal favorites, they being production, and not actually thinking about what are the moments that are really celebrated with Survivor fans. So I think it's a huge miss to be taking out seasons with really important pieces. You know, I'm a Fiji girl, so like this isn't even a Fiji propaganda in here. I'm talking about
No, it's
seasons
more
like
about Marquesas.
Marquesas, Amazon, um, even a season like Guatemala or Cook Islands. We'll get to Cook Islands in a Panama. It feels like these are misses. You know, it's a big miss for them to not be including some of these uh old school, and I'd even say underappreciated seasons.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing, and then let's definitely move on because we're getting on our
Yeah.
soapbox. But last thing I want to say is I think we're also seeing like the importance of and this seems obvious, but like importance of like Jeff and production's opinions on a season, and obviously recency bias. The recency bias we're seeing is with the new era for sure. Like we only have
Mhm.
one person for the first 5 seasons in the new era, and it's not who I think most. Okay, Facebook fans are happy, but like when we look at that for people from the first 4 seasons of the new era, excuse me, we only have we get to him Jonathan, and we have like 3 from 48, 2 from 49, 3 from 46, 2 from 45. It's we're seeing that recency bias, and then we're also seeing it's sad that we like went into this process knowing no one from Vanuatu is getting called, no
Yeah,
one from certain we knew like you prayed for PG, no one from PG's getting called. Jeff doesn't
yeah,
like that season. Marquesas, like Jeff has like changed his opinion on Vesepia a billion times in the season as a whole, but like that's never been a show they've championed in the way they've just
yeah,
championed certain players in season. So
yeah,
these things obviously matter, but I think we were all hopeful that they would look at the history of the show and like the more
yeah,
like the moments and there's because there's a lot of great moments in Marquesas, there's a lot of great moments in Vanuatu, there's a lot of great moments in Guatemala, and obviously, but we knew it was a long shot.
yeah.
But Stephanie remains the only Guatemala returnee.
Yep. Sigh.
All right. All right, Suri, I don't think we need to discuss this for too long
I am
because
very excited Cerie's coming back. I know it's a little hypocritical, but
what
come
we were
on,
just saying.
come on now. It's Cerie. If Cerie wants to come on, I say we let her. I'm glad
Get her
that
bag.
CBS has all decided that Cerie is above all of the rules that they have for everybody else. This is a no-brainer, but it's because we love Cerie so much, and also the way that her games have ended. Like, every time Cerie has been ousted out of a game, it was in an unconventional way. It was surprise final 2 when it was everyone presuming it was a final 3, final 4 fire making, the original final 4 fire making, being idled out, and of course, advantage get in. It's the way she has lost, which I would argue is not her fault with a lot of this crap that they've pulled on her. That I need Cerie back. I need Cerie back for one final time here with Survivor 50, and she's willing to play. So I say we have to have her.
Yeah, this is also like it's you of course, and they should call Suri for 50. And I'm not. She's gonna be great TV, even if she's only on for one episode. She's gonna be awesome. She's gonna like. She's such a great confessionalist, such a great player. It's just gonna be fun seeing Suri do her thing, and it's gonna be especially fun if we see Suri actually survive quite a while, because that's how it was on Game Changers. They're like, especially with how unbalanced the Game Changers cast was. You're like, how is Suri gonna make it? And she makes it so far, and so I'm really excited to see Suri play the game again. Yes, she played Traitors, Big Brother, Snake in the Grass. She's doing Australian Survivor. Like, yes, there's Suri saturation, but there can never be enough Suri for me. I'm like,
Yeah.
I it's I'm just sad because we're gonna get to see her voted out another time probably because I don't see her making it to the end.
I
But imagine if she did. Imagine if she did.
listen, if there's one thing Jonathan Young can be good for, put him on her tribe so they don't go to tribal council pre-merge. Thank you.
You okay?
Um,
Hold on, you're cooking. You're cooking.
yes, listen, this is how we can turn this cast around. I want Ozzy and Jonathan both on her tribe, just to protect her from the vote, but then they have to quit if
hmm
they lose, because then otherwise, like, what are you here for?
Because it's their fault. Yeah.
Yes, because it's clearly their fault. I will hear nothing else. But yes, I'm very happy that we get to see Sari back. There are some other characters from some of the seasons that we have gotten Sari on that I would love to see as well. But I'm very happy with the Sari choice. You won't hear me say anything negative about this.
Obviously, would love to see the double D Danielle Di Lorenzo three-peat, but I will
I
maybe
would
maybe next
actually
season.
listen. I would not turn my nose at a Danielle Di
Oh yeah,
Lorenzo
no, oh, I'm
return.
craving it. Especially
The
that random rumor that she was rumored for Edge of Extinction. I don't like. I
Yes,
can't
a
believe
rumored
that's likely
the
true.
the well-known captain of sports, like it's just
hmm
she's made for this new era.
There could be so many hidden immunity items for her to find. I love Double D. I'm sad she's not here, but Suri will carry on the legend
Yes.
of Kasaya. So let's get all right. I don't need to spend too much time here.
Did we
Of
need an
course,
Aussie return?
but like I just come on. It's like
This
I
is
love us going from Surrey to
I know.
Ozzy being like, yes, we can see her one more time. Ozzy, whoa. But it's just like he's gonna do the same thing he did every other season.
I think with a lot of these multi-time players, we are getting either they play the same every time, or I feel like their arc has kind of already been done. Like, we already got a good arc from them. I was not clamoring for a return, and we'll get to another person like that later. I think with Ozzy, it's just very much we see him play the same way every time.
Yeah.
And I I don't need to see it. I'm not super excited about this pick. He's like one of our two LGBTQ plus representation on here, so he brings that to the table, and that's you know, I'm I wish him well.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for
I
your
think we
service.
can use this time to acknowledge that we are aware of another Cook Islands guy who is called and cut. Jonathan Penner posted today that
Unforgivable.
they cut him. He
Yes,
was a really great sport about it. He's wished his best to shouted out a few people. But it is that is someone I would have much more enjoyed to see on here. I think Penner has a great story, especially since a lot has changed in his life since we last saw him.
yes,
The passing of his wife, that was something the show like really supported him through. I was just like really hopeful that we would get to see him again because I think that would have been a very like emotional return of someone who's been like who has appeared, using Cook Islands, he's in Micronesia, he was someone in the 20s, and it just feels like, uh,
yeah.
yeah, he would have
He
brought a lot more to the table than Ozzy.
Yeah, and I think them not bringing back Jonathan Penner is a huge miss on their part, especially if they were looking to bring back some of these bigger names, old school era players that have played more than once. I feel like Penner's uh final season doesn't feel like his time in the Philippines, which was the last season we have seen him on. It doesn't feel like the end for him. Like, and as you said, a lot has changed in his life. I feel like he would be a very strong pick for a returnee and one that a lot of people would be excited to see return. So this is where I think we get a lot of disconnect as well ab about what production thinks we want to see, because I don't know any fans that would not want to see Jonathan Penner. Honestly, he'd be one of my first picks for a returnee, especially compared to the cast that we're getting.
Yeah. So Ozzy, cool. We'll see what you do. Not much else to say, but yeah, it was this one I was a little disappointed to hear.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into it.
This is another
Um,
one. I'm just gonna say it. We don't need to see him back. We don't need to see Coach back. I think his arc in South Pacific felt complete to me. like going from the Tocantins coach to South Pacific coach. I'm all set. I don't need to see this. I think this is another person that if we're looking at three-time players, that have long seasonal storylines in here, like, we follow them through all the seasons. I think coaches felt more complete to me, and Penner is a little more on the nose of the type of player I would be looking for from this general era of Survivor.
Yeah, I will say at least his last season was 2011. Like, it has been a while since we've
Yes.
seen Coach. It's not like, there's quite a few people, like we just talked about Ozzy, who last played at Game Changers. And that feels like, okay, bring him back again. Coach, I'm in total agreement that South Pacific was a great wrap up to his arc on the show, but I totally get why he would have unfinished business and want to return.
Yeah.
I think he could be fun, but another one in terms of like really bringing there's like I think a lot of great options for people. Like again, it's just we're talking about this lack of like because they brought back Coach 3 times already and didn't bring back other people who could have, maybe also solidified their status as a big survivor character. This feels like the obvious pick for them. But I wish, this slot, like a lot of these slots, was fit in with someone who maybe only played once or twice, who we haven't seen in quite a while.
Yeah.
But I think he could be fun. I'm curious to see how Coach is now. Um, how he approaches the game. A lot of time has passed. It's been, but by the time this airs, it will have been, so it's early 2026. It will have been 15 years since he last played. So that's something at least. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think there were some. It's not my least favorite choice on this list by far. I think it'll be fun, but again, like a lot of these picks, wish there had been a little more mix of not so many 3-4 timers.
Yeah.
All right, let's. I can't remember who's next chronologically. Okay. We have Aubrey
This is
from
such a big jump. Oh my god,
yes,
like, seeing it in real time, we go from 18 as his initial season
yeah,
to 32.
that's crazy.
That's
I didn't think about that.
insane. So I get with Coach in particular, his last season was season 23, I believe, South Pacific. So 23 to 32 is still a huge jump, but 18 to 32 is insane. I cannot with this. That is awful. I'm sorry. Not you, Aubrey.
Yeah,
You're
no,
but
I think Aubrey could be fun. Like again, it's especially since her last 2 games did not go very well for her. Like I mean, the Game Changer she made it far, but she was like totally like a non-factor in the show we saw. And Edge of Extinction famously did not go well for her. I think it's cool she wants to play again. And she was obviously a huge Korong's a great season. She was a huge character. I think we're in agreement. We would have much rather see someone from Korong who has not yet returned,
yeah.
aka Sydney.
Sydney, I would
Um,
like to see Sydney, yes.
but I think Aubrey could have an interesting story here. I think has she had a kid now? I
He
think
does.
she's yeah.
I
Like
think he has 2
I'm
kids now.
yeah.
1 or
Like
2.
I'm interested to see like how her life has changed and her as a person and how she approaches the game.
Yeah, I think this is a little more there's a little more intrigue, I think, with Aubrey for me in particular because she had a very quiet edit on Game Changers
Mhm.
despite still making it very far, and then she was a very early boot in Edge of Extinction, so there's a little more to be desired from what we saw from her previously, so I'm not super mad at this pick, I just don't especially thinking about, like, I mean, I'll talk about it a little more later, but this cast does not meet the 50% BIPOC, quota at all, like, not even close, which is incredibly disappointing, so seeing some of these players that have played multiple times do not fit in the BIPOC era, like, the BIPOC quota that they pledged that they were going to do, and then now they're doing it again. No, it's a
Yeah.
little disappointing for me, and this is not to say this is Aubrey's fault. I have no
No.
problem with Aubrey coming here. I'm excited to see if she's able to adapt. I really want them to put her on a tribe with Q just to see what happens. But I find it interesting, and I'm disappointed in CBS for not doing it, for not adhering to the rule that they committed to. And, I hope that Aubrey does have a good game. I think it'd be interesting to see her play now with uh all of the advantages, cuz she still had they had quite a bit of idols, and she had a lot of obstacles happen with her and her allies in Ko-Rong, famously one of the most difficult seasons to compete in. Um climate-wise. So, I think that Aubrey's gonna surprise us. I'm excited to see where she goes.
Yeah, so I think this is a time where we can talk about the Amanda Kimmel of it all
Yes.
because it was long rumored Amanda Kimmel was going to be on, and then all of a sudden we were hearing she wasn't. And so Redmond Martin, I'll call him both, shared with us that it does appear that Amanda was kind of like locked into the cast and dropped out very last minute, and it appears that Aubrey replaced her. So I think that also adds like a sting of like just the knowing that Amanda was that close and for whatever reason made a decision for herself, and I totally respect that. I think if it's just she doesn't want to return to the game or she just wants to be a normal person and have a private life, I think that's totally valid, especially with how crazy people on the internet are. But it is sad that we could have had this, like even just like swapping out, like again, no shade to Aubrey, but if like Amanda Kimmel was here, like that would be this is like so much more exciting because we've seen
Yeah,
Aubrey so recently. But it's not the worst swap they could have made, but there were more interesting swaps they could have made, like a
yeah,
Natalie Bolton, also from the Black Widow Brigade.
yes.
There are a lot of options.
Mhm. Agreed.
All right, let's move along. Okay, Chrissy Hoffbeck. I think this is one of the
Yes!
no-brainers. This is one of the
Ugh,
no-brainers.
I am so excited
Um,
to see Chrissy play again.
I'm really excited too. I think this is like duh.
Yeah,
Like it was if 40 hadn't been all winners, she would have been on 40 probably, or she certainly was like would have been strongly in consideration for 40 if it was the timing was right for her. 50 like Chrissy was such, I think thinking about like before Angelina, like she was like one of
yeah,
the breakout women's of the 30s.
yeah,
And then of course we'll talk about Angelina, but this is just yeah, great pick. I
yes.
think she's gonna bring a lot to the table. And yeah, no complaints here.
I love Chrissy. This is also she's a woman that loves the show, right? Like,
Hmm.
she goes to watch parties, she tweets about Survivor, she has very strong opinions, obviously, about a lot of twists that may or not have impacted her game, which I agree with. She is incredible. I love Chrissy so much. I cannot wait for her return. This is what we have been waiting for. Like, we have been waiting for Chrissy to have a second chance, and now we are getting that, and I'm so excited for her. I can't wait to see Chrissy come back.
Yeah, no complaints. Great, great choice. Thank you, Survivor. All right, okay. I'm gonna be shady. Um, so next up we have Mike White from Dave versus Goliath. Um, I think G and I talked about this beforehand. What will we say about Mike White? Um, I think what I will say is if he was not famous or Jeff's personal friend, based purely on his game in David vs. Goliath, he would not be here. And I think that should not be a controversial thing to say. And I don't think it
I
is. I think we are all aware.
I'm gonna just say this directly, like, this should be Davey's spot.
Yeah.
If we're gonna have 3 David versus Goliath people, Davey should be one of them, and Davey should be in Mike White's spot. No shade to the the Mike White fans out there, but especially with some of the problematic content that has come out from him recently, I don't need to see him return. And, um, I understand the appeal of having him come back for Survivor 50, but I agree with your assessment that if he was not who he is outside of Survivor, then he would not be returning. So, yeah, I'm a little frustrated with this one. It doesn't help with any. I mean, it's our second queer of our queer rep. However, if your queer rep is saying problematic things about other members of the community, I don't necessarily, have an interest in seeing you again. So, I really wish Davey was coming back, and I really wish that this was the spot he was in. So, it's
Yeah.
unfortunate.
We know why he was cast.
Yes.
And CBS, they were thinking about other things than who from that season
Oh, yeah.
played a game. Um, really wanting to really that would really put them on a spot on 50. But Davey is someone who's a classic victim of waited too long to do
Yeah.
an All Stars season, a second chance season. Like he's unfortunately like so many people from David versus Goliath. Like we have three David versus Goliath on here, but there's Davey, Gabby, like
Yeah.
there's some missed opportunities
Natalie
with the lack of
Cole,
yeah, Natalie will obviously.
obviously.
Like
Obviously my
she
first pick for any of them, but, like, I'm excited to talk about these other 2 picks as well.
yes, let's get to the good news.
Yes.
Okay, this was the biggest no-brainer of all time. This was if she's not on the cast, throw away this season.
Yes.
This is one of my two people that made it on the cast. I think she was the overall first draft pick for 50 for 50. I had the first pick, and then
I
I picked
believe so,
Angelina.
yeah.
What can we say? Like the like in an era of the show in the 30s where I feel like the show struggled in a lot of ways. Dave vs. Goliath was a solid season overall, but like the Angelina effect, like that,
Mhm.
watching that season and like being like, just I that was one of the first seasons I came back to, like watching Survivor live, like after like coming back to the show and like rewatching it, everything and like getting into this, like I was like every week of Angelina like felt like I was like a part of something. Like it's like hard to
Yes.
like it was so fun. I was like on Twitter for the and Reddit for the first time, like since returning the show, like engaging with the show in a way, and it was like all because of Angelina. So yeah, fantastic pick. She's gonna be awesome.
I think there's something really special about players that are on very popular seasons and are the clear stars or one of the clear stars of the season. Like, that shows how much like, the cast overall is fantastic for David versus Goliath, right? Like, it's a great group of people. Everybody is playing hard. There is so much to love about that season, but to be one of the big names of the season just shows what a star you are, and I think Angelina has that it factor. This is like, her being cast does feel like a no-brainer, and really it's like the fact that she was able to shine so much on an already great season just shows how naturally talented she is. So I'm so happy to see her back. I can't wait to see her play. I believe she has kept up with the show.
I think so
Um
too.
yeah, so I'm excited to she strikes me as somebody that would be studying new era Survivor to be preparing for Survivor 50. So I'm very excited to see her return and to see her play.
And then another no-brainer from this cast, I feel like we have to go right into Christian because this is the two, like we're talking about the two like does of this era of the
Yeah.
show and this cast specifically. Christian Hubicki, duh.
Yeah. We love Christian Hubicki here. This is a Christian Hubicki stan household. I am so excited for Christian to be back. He is fantastic, fantastic player. Um, if you've ever met him in person, you will also be hyped on the Christian Hubicki train. Like, he is a fantastic human being. Still plays like a lot of the online games, still does a lot of like, keeps up with the show, does a lot of podcast appearances. So I just this is a fantastic pick. I think of all the players from that era of Survivor that we could have return, if he's not your number 1, he's at least, like, top 5.
Yeah, no, great picks. And like when we look at both for Angelina and him, last time they played was 2018. That's 7 years ago. By the time this
Yeah,
airs, it will be eight coming up on 8 years ago. And so it's
yeah.
like again,
It
this lack
does
of returning players season other than Winners at War. It's like whoa, it's been that long.
it does feel crazy to be talking about players like Christian and Angelina as players that have played almost a decade ago. That is
Mhm.
wild. But this is an overdue return. I'm very excited to have them come back. This will be a fantastic choice. And he strikes me again as somebody like Sari in that, like, they have such a stage presence where it's like if you are on for one episode or you on till the very end, you're gonna get moments from this person.
Mhm. All right, let's move along because we got to get. Okay, I don't want to spend too much time on this. This is Devin seems like a lovely person, but this is just of course
This this feels like if Christian Hubicki is our first pick from the 30s,
yes,
Rick
yes.
Devens is production's first pick from the 30s. Like this, we knew it was coming. I like Rick Devens. I think he got
Hmm.
a huge edit on Edge of Extinction, which is why so many people are experienced Rick Devens fatigue. But I
Hmm.
think he has a really good head for the game. He's a very funny player, and he if you ever follow him on social media, you get a lot of great content there as well. So I'm excited for Rick Devens' return. I'm not surprised by this pick, but it's still a pleasant choice to me.
No, I think he'll be fun, and it will make like again like I this is another one. If it's like it's not a pick for me, I understand who it's a pick for, and it's a pick for a lot
Yeah,
of people, and like I
yeah,
have nothing against him. It's just
yeah,
there was fatigue, but I think enough time has passed where if he had returned, if like 40 hadn't been winners at war and he had returned for 40, that would have been a lot.
yeah,
If he had been the NPC like Jeff was proposing in 41, where he was selling items in a fire token shop, that would have been a lot. But
yeah.
for 50, okay, sure.
I'm still just picturing they really want to make Rick Devens like Tom Nook of
It's
season
just, yeah.
41.
Okay. Gia, you
Oh my
take this
goodness.
one.
I hate this pick so much. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not actually sorry. You know what? I shouldn't
No,
say
you're
that,
not
but I don't mean
sorry.
it. But of all the Survivor for first of all, 41 and 42, there should be at least one representative from both of these seasons because they are fantastic seasons. Okay. Now, of the Survivor 42 players, I'd say our picks for returning in order, Omar Zahir, right?
Yeah.
If we are picking uh what's it called? If we are picking like winners, because for a
Hmm.
long time we didn't think there were going to be any winners on
Yeah.
there. If winners are in contention, Marianne is solid second choice here. Um, I would even argue that like the fact that she won kind of just is what knocks her down behind
Yeah.
Omar. Um, then you have Mike Turner. I think Mike Turner had a really good ending to 42 to warrant a return, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
Like the
What?
way that he had this come to Jesus moment with his I am not winning. The way that I played is not how other people perceived it. And like essentially like apologizing to the that's a player I want to see return to see if he can fix what he wasn't able to achieve in 42. Would love to see a Mike Turner win. Following that is High. Obviously, I think High is a no-brainer for a return. Lindsay, Roxroy, Tori, Lydia Chlamydia, um, Jenny Kim. I need another one. Was it Mariah,
Right.
um, John, the guy that Jackson, the guy that got
Jackson
medevac,
Guyton. Yeah.
then Jonathan Bailey. No, sorry, in between Lydia Chlamydia and High, also put Romeo in there. Like they're
What about Drea?
Drea. Listen,
We won't comment.
I'm a friend of Omar. So
We are
we
both friend of Omer's.
yes, we are. But still, Jonathan is good at challenges, said some problematic stuff on his original season. That's really all I remember him for. This for a season with such a strong of a cast as 42. This is the most disappointing pick in the entire cast for me. I really think that they could have done so much more with these new era choices, and I think they're really underselling how good of cast they had with 41 and 42.
Agreed. You said everything there is to say. It's a disappointment, as when we especially know like who else could have been in contention for
Yeah.
these. There's no one even from 43, and like like a Jesse like is not on this cast, but Jonathan Young is. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I don't get this
disappointing.
pick. I will never like this pick in terms of what we could have had. I think this cast could
Yeah,
have been so much stronger with other Survivor 42 or even 41 contestants. I don't see why this is our new era representative from the first 4 seasons.
agreed. All right, can we blitz these last few in like 15 minutes? Do we think?
Yes.
Cool.
We
All right.
absolutely can.
Emily Flippin. this was a surprising, I think, thing for a lot of people because she had said she like very publicly was like, I don't want to come back. um, but clearly she was playing the smart game. No one was expecting her,
Mhm.
and she does want to come back. And this feels like a really fun pick, and I have no complaints about this.
Yeah.
Obviously, 45's it was a very stat cast, but
Yes.
in terms of we think about like breakout stars in the new era, Emily Flippin certainly is one.
Oh, yeah. I would say of, like, that, like, first 5 seasons, she's probably, like, on the Mount Rushmore of breakout characters from the season,
Hmm.
especially if we aren't taking winners into account here. She is one of the big characters of these new era seasons. Absolutely love her. I'm so excited to see her play again. I think a lot and I think a lot of people were surprised because Emily has gone on record to say, "I am not interested in playing again." However, I do kind of agree with her in that we have seen time and time again a lot of players that played back-to-back seasons, and doing that really took a toll on them. We see it all the time with even a show like Big Brother, where there's a lot of space in between the 2 seasons because it only comes on once a year. Players that play back to back either go home early or they're just so locked into how they've been playing, they've not had that time to really process their game and how they were perceived or anything like that, that I think it'd be kind of unhealthy. So for Emily to have that 2-year break in here, this season aired in 2023, so she probably played in 2022, I think. I think that Emily's a great pick, and I'm glad she's had some time to step away from the spotlight of being one of the breakout stars of 45, and she's still an excellent pick, and I'm very excited for her.
Yeah, yeah. Again, when it was this is one of those names we heard it was in contention. It was like Emily Flippin's like actually gonna play again. It's great. So
Yes,
I think she'll bring a lot to the table. I think she has the potential to do very well on this season. She has a story that warrants a return, and that she had kind of a growth arc
yeah,
already. And now, like, is she gonna kind of is she like which Emily is she gonna start the game as?
yeah,
Will be an entirely new Emily. I think there's a lot of room there.
yeah.
And then we have another 45er. We have D, who's one of our two winners on this cast.
Mhm.
Of course, like she's definitely like we're talking about like dominant new
Yeah,
era winners. It's D.
yes,
I wish Marianne was also here, but like as someone like just have a contrast of like a woman winner who played a very different game for the new era. But I'm happy to see D here, and I just it's duh. She's great. I worry for her and this other winner on this cast because there's only two of them. It's really odd that they only put two of them on if they were going to include them at all. And
yeah,
I think I want her to do well, but I also fear this might be a collect the check and then she
yeah.
gets targeted, or she knows
Take the
she's probably
money
going
and
to get targeted
run.
early.
Yep.
Yeah, which respect.
I love Dee. I'm a big fan of both of the winners on this cast, so I'm very
Yes, great.
excited for Dee to return. I do worry because she played so recently, and she is known for playing a very dominant game. I think if they're picking the
She's going
dominant
to be a huge
winners
target.
of the new era to return, there's Dee, there's our 48 winner, and I would argue maybe Jam Jam is probably
Hmm.
our other very dominant winner in there, and I would be very happy with the Jam Jam return as well. Would love this idea. I'm very excited for the return. I'm excited to see D return. I am worried about her and her chances of making it past the pre-merge. Same with Kyle. I am very worried for both of them, but I think that any at this point, any votes they survive is a victory because coming in with that big a target on your back will certainly be something.
Yeah. I just want to say it's crazy there's no one from 44 on this season, but
Oh yeah, yep. I
yeah,
think
we talked about it. Carolyn was cut.
yeah, so I think some of the most famous announcements that we have gotten in this like Survivor 50 like rollout has been I think in like 24 hours we got
Yes,
both
Carolyn and
Jesse
Jesse.
Jesse and Carolyn both talked about them being cut. I think for a lot of people, if they were including new era individuals, they assumed that people like Jesse and Carolyn would be locks in particular for these seasons. And I think we also have commentary from somewhere about just like the players themselves were essentially told that they were locks for return at some point. And yeah, I think that those are big misses, especially Jessie, who I kind of understand with Carolyn because she played the traitors. I don't understand why the cut for Jessie. I think if we're talking about the new era big characters, that seems like him and Carla were really like the big like names of 45 or 43 in my opinion.
43, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we do have a big name. We have a big letter coming up. It's
Yes!
Q, of course. I don't think we need to spend a long time on this. He's gonna be fun. He's gonna we need some characters on this season. Can't wait to see him interact with, as you mentioned, Aubrey. See him interact with like what's Jenna Lewis? What's Colby gonna think
What's
of him? It's gonna be
Jenna
great.
Can you what happens if Rick Devens and Q are on the same tribe? Like, someone explain what are the rules for
God
that?
help us. I
Or
mean, yeah. Do you have much else to say about Q? Because
I
it's
think
gonna be a ride.
fantastic pick. This is an
Hmm.
like Emily Flippin, I think one of the Mount Rushmore characters of the new era so far. Huge character. Love that he's returning. Big fan of him. I think that I'm a fan of all the 46 picks. I will say
Yeah,
that. And we'll get to them now,
yeah.
but
Let's go through them.
he's fantastic. I think we all knew this was going to be a pick.
Yeah, and Charlie, yeah, again, like I will say, I think he played the best losing finalist game of the new era.
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say. One of the better losing finalist games, like
Yeah.
definitely up there. Like others, I don't know if it's number one, but like he was a very strong player. Jeff loves him. Lots of
Yeah.
people loved him. He's a really nice guy.
Yeah. I really like Charlie. I think he's wonderful. I've had the honor of being able to meet him in person. I think he's absolutely lovely. And I'm excited to see Charlie play again. I worry though because he's playing with 246 people, and he's also going to be known as like the guy a lot of people think was robbed. And
Hmm.
like he's going in as kind of one of the like, and again, I'm a big Kenzie fan, so I am not one of
Yeah,
as
me
much as
too.
I love Charlie, I'm not a Charlie was robbed individual. However, I think because he has that Charlie was robbed as, like, something that a lot of
Narrative.
people think, that could be to his disadvantage, especially if we have some people trying to get out some of the bigger strategists out early, especially some of the people that just played. I think people like Charlie, I think people like Charlie, people like, we'll get to Kyle later down the line. I think a lot of those players could be in trouble just for their name and what they represent in the Survivor universe.
Totally, yeah. He's someone who if he can like get like skirt that like reputation. Like I think he could do
Yeah,
very well. But yeah, that is true that is going to be on people's minds. That was
yeah,
one of the biggest points of conversation in recent years about an outcome of a vote was Charlie's
yeah.
loss. So let's move on to I think the surprising in a positive way for me.
Yes,
46 pick. I knew they were going to bring Tiffany Cole Irvin back someday. I was shocked that it was for 50 because this was a name that hadn't gone around like at all in
yes,
terms of people thinking she was on the cast. And so for her to be on the cast, that was like I was following the when Survivors Unite was posting on Survivor Sucks, and when the Tiffany picture came out, I was like Tiffany. It was like so crazy, and I texted like Sam and Derek. I was like Tiffany.
I when so I saw a message of someone saying Tiffany. I thought they meant 41 Tiffany,
Me
right?
too, when people
So I
were
was
posting
like
that in the
I'm like,
Discord.
"Oh, like, there's our 41 rep," like, and I would argue, like, Tiffany makes sense as well for, like, she was, the mayor of Ponderosa boot, but she was, like, a very funny person, had really solid confessionals in there. This Tiffany, I am even happier for
With
her
Q.
with
Put her in
listen,
Q and tribe
I
it again.
think
Put her in Q and tribe again.
they need to start on separate tribes.
Yeah, no, for everyone's sake.
I really need I need them to start on separate tribes. I know for my entertainment, if they cared about what I wanted, they would put them on the same tribe and they would put Charlie in there as well just to even things out. And they're not gonna do that because they hate me, clearly. I mean, we've been talking about why for the past hour, and I'm so happy if we are gonna get a surprise pick, I am so happy it is Tiffany. We have not heard her name floated around at all until maybe a week ago, not even a week ago. I'm
Not
very
even,
happy
yeah.
with yeah, I'm very
Great.
happy with
I
this
think
pick. I think uh this could be our, like, recently played individual that could go very far. She was
mhm.
idled at, or she left with an idol in her pocket. She's part of that long stretch of players that got voted out with an idol. She was a big character on 46, but I would say with people like Venus and Q was not the big character of the season. Definitely a strategic player, but not the person with the strategic label like Charlie does. I think Tiffany's in a great spot going into 46, and I'm so excited to watch her play again.
And before we move on, I know a lot of people are skeptical about this pick because people weren't as big of fans of her on the season. I think Tiffany has a very big potential if this is a good season to her to be a very like come out of this as like a big face of the
Yes.
show because
Yes.
she was so entertaining, so fun, and I think she could have. I'm not saying she's gonna be the next Wentworth, but I'm saying a similar thing of like people were like, oh, like a little surprise, like that
Yeah.
in a different way. Like Tiffany made him a lot further, but in the sense of people, I saw a lot of different reactions for Tiffany being on this cast and I don't know if it'll be as quite as big of a moment,
There are
but I do think she's a potential to be a huge character.
Also, we've had a lot of individuals on these casts that have were a lot more questionable picks to me and were a lot less fun on their original
Yeah,
season. So I will take the surprise Tiffany.
no complaints.
Yes.
Okay, so we have our lone 47er. We're like getting towards the end here. Duh, duh, duh.
Yeah.
This is my second pick. I swapped out one of my picks to put her on my 50 for 50
Yep.
because it felt like so criminal for her to not be
Yeah.
brought back. Talk about someone who has potential to become a big like star for the show. I think Genevieve like has
Yeah.
what they and I think that's why they're bringing her back.
Oh yeah.
Like she is so great, such a great confessionalist, great character, great competitor.
Yeah. Actually, I think when we were drafting this, Christine, correct me if I'm wrong, 46 wasn't done airing yet. So we
No,
didn't even know
we
the
didn't know who Genevieve was.
Yeah, so we didn't even know who Genevieve was, and then after, because it took so long to get everything out get everything out in order, you added in Genevieve as, like, your one swap from it now that we
Mhm.
got to see some more of the players here.
Sorry,
And
Jacqueline Mish.
just Jacqueline Mish, you still live on in our hearts. I would love to see Jacqueline play. That's a good
Yeah, she's
pick
never getting a
for
call.
I know, but, like, she would be such a good pick for somebody that debuted in the 20s as well.
Yes.
Like, that would have been a solid, solid pick for me. But I think Genevieve is a fantastic choice. If they were gonna have anybody from 47, I think her, maybe Rachel, and Andy would be, like, the 3 that you would expect. Maybe Sam too, I would say, is another pick in there. We know Andy was cut late
Late in the
into
game, yeah.
late in the game. And I think that is definitely a miss on production's part as well. But Genevieve is also a fantastic pick. So
Mhm.
this feels correct. This feels like if
Yeah.
you're gonna have the one rep from 47, it's gonna be Genevieve.
All right, I gotta wrap this up in like 5 minutes. Let's rapid
Yes.
fire. Let's talk about all three 48ers together because I think
Yes.
that makes sense. So we've got Joe Hunter, Kyle Frazier, and Camilla. This was a big shock for the
Yes.
cast reveal, and that we have 48ers. We knew it was likely Joe in the mix, and then Kyle and Camilla. I guess talking about them broadly, I'm most excited to see Camilla, but like in the sense that like she's not a winner. I don't like think she'll be like a top target, but I am scared for her because Kyle is there. I think that is. I don't know why they cast them together. So it's because recency bias in production lifts the season. I
Yeah.
really want to see Camilla succeed, but like we were talking about, Kyle is going to be a massive, massive target, and I worry for her being associated with him, and I worry for him. I don't know how
Yeah.
he's gonna do, but I hope to see them both succeed because like were really fun players, and they got stuck in a really kind of boring season, and
Yeah.
so hope they get a second chance. Joe, really like him as a person. I don't know what he's gonna bring this season.
I think Joe will fit in with a lot of these old school players.
Yes, I think he and Colby are gonna get put on a tribe together.
They're gonna be on a tribe together, they're gonna be buddies, it's going to be the most dry, even toned conversations you will ever have in your life, but they will be had. And I think Joe makes sense as a returnee, especially coming back from playing 48. He was a very popular player. He had a really solid run on 48. A lot of people presumed he was gonna win, myself included, because almost every other confessional was if Joe goes to the end, he's
Yes.
gonna win. But I am very excited to see him return, to see if he can learn from his mistakes in the previous season. That'll be interesting to see. Camilla, our Final Four fire making queen, obvious choice to return. I think that is the perfect choice here. If she would be my pick, my sole pick, if we only got one
Mhm.
returnee from 48, it would be her. I think that's a perfect choice. And Kyle, I would say, but depending on how you look at it, either the most dominant winner we've had of the new era or second behind D, who is also here.
And they're both here,
So
yeah.
fantastic pick by production. I'm very happy to see Kyle play. I do worry because him winning is the last thing this cast is seeing. Um,
And
and
Jenna Lewis is
yes,
there.
his win is fresh on Jenna Lewis's mind. So how will we come? Would it be funny if they do three tribes? It's like D's on one tribe, Kyle's on another, and Jenna Lewis is
Yeah,
in.
so she can't vote them out. She's like sending smoke signals and like and like whispering in the challenge. Yeah.
Yes, I think that's the world we want to see here. But
Yeah.
I think that these are all good picks. I worry a little bit because they just played, but that
It's a lot.
that's the risk they take by coming onto the show so quickly. But can't wait to see them return.
And speaking of, we don't have much to say here because we don't know who these people are. We
No.
have Rizzo and Savannah from 49. There was a lot of speculation whether they would pull game changers and bring some, like they brought Zeke and Michaela, and we can be assured they're going to be big characters, big players, but we know nothing about them. And I feel like I understand why they do this because they want to like ride hype from the previous season. But I think for a season like 50, it's a hard pill for me to swallow that they're being brought back immediately for
I
50.
I don't like this. I don't know anything about either of these two people, so I can't speak to any of them. But I mean, it kind of kills some of the suspense of the season because we can
Yeah.
pretty much assume neither of these two players are going to come back, are going to get voted out pre merge at the very least. We're likely to have one of them win or be in the finals. Um, I don't know a ton about either of these people. I haven't even really gotten a chance to like look at any information on them that we have yet. Um, these are I mean, we've seen players like Zeke and Michaela play back-to-back season and actually make it pretty far. I don't know if this cast will be so willing to keep them around long term, especially if we have some pre-gaming going on in here. So I worry for them a little bit. It'll be interesting to see how they play.
Yeah. So that's our cast. Again, it's weird to have two people we don't even
Woo!
know, but that's how Survivor does it. Um, so yeah, we'll see. I mean, we'll see how this goes. We still got 49 to look forward to. We don't want to like overshadow that too much. We still got a whole season before we're going to see this, but I mean, my thoughts and prayers are with everyone out there playing the season. They better hope it's good because if it's not a good season, a lot of people are going to be real mad. But I think we can wrap it up. You can find me and Gia on places.
Yes.
You can find us on Inside Survivor.
Our
Anything you
bio
want to say
stuff
before
is
we wrap
there.
up? Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I am a little disappointed about the diversity quota not
of
being
course.
followed through. We only have one Asian contestant. We do not have 50% BIPOC, and we do not have um more than two LGBTQ plus contestants on here, which is very disappointing. Unless I don't know about Rizzo or Savannah. I'm not gonna make assumptions either way. So I'm a little disappointed in that. So I would say make your voices heard if you share a similar sentiment of being disappointed that that was not followed on such a big season like 50, and also continue to show support to the projects that other Survivor contestants are working on. I retweeted or not retweeted. I shared a story on Instagram about Davies' project that he's
Mhm.
currently working on. So I say that's the best way you can show love to the Survivor contestants that are not going to be on 50.
Great. Great note to end it on. Thank you, Gia, for going through this with me. And see you in 2026, everyone, for whatever the season turns out to be.
Yes.
See ya.
Yes. Bye.